What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Tonight, we are going to give you our best bets for UFC Fight Night, Luque versus RDA. If you're looking for the full breakdowns, the full predictions, and how we think the fights are going to play out, go back to earlier in the week to our earlier video. But this is our updated final picks, final bets episode. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe. And LFG. First fight of the night, we got Juliana Miller versus Luana Santos. Nothing's changed here. I mean, the odds are very close. Pick 'em fight. I suspect it will be competitive to green fighters. I like Luana Santos. I like her over 1.5. I like all the overs. Yeah, so give me Santos money line or Santos over 1.5. Those would be my picks. What do you think?
Well, Santos money line minus 150 is pretty nice. That's a good parlay piece. Low confidence parlay piece because women's MMA, you know what I mean? But yeah, but her decision line is not so good. It's plus 140. Live for a finish, maybe, but there's gonna be a lot of ground play in this. I feel like Juliana Miller at least can play defensive on her back, at least to stay safe. But I still don't like plus 140. I'd rather just do the minus 150 and just take the money line and just play both sides like that. Over 2.5 is minus 215. That's fair. Over 1.5 minus 370. I guess that's fair for a women's fight as well. So those are the spots that I like in this fight.
Yep, sounds good. All right, moving on. We got a very, very last minute replacement. This fight wasn't even announced as of the weekend, so this just came out. We got Damon Blackshear versus Jose Johnson. No way, Jose. It's tough because it's so last minute. You don't really know who's in shape, who's been training. It's hard to gauge here. But the thing is, you know, I'm a big No Way Jose fan. The guy can crack. He honestly, I know this sounds crazy, but he honestly reminds me of Anderson Silva in a way. Just like that long, rangy striker with tons of power on these lanky limbs, with no takedown defense, but has okay submissions too. Like don't get me wrong, no way is he on Anderson's level, but he just reminds me of that lanky guy that produces crazy power. So he can knock out Blackshear. He could potentially catch a Hail Mary submission. He does have decent submissions, but he has terrible takedown defense. So my brain says that Blackshear will be this much stronger guy. If he implements the wrestling, he's going to be able to hold him down for all 3 rounds and potentially even submit or just finish him on the ground. I think Blackshear does not want to strike here. He'll risk getting knocked out. But I think if Blackshear is smart and wrestles, he's going to win this fight. Because it's so last minute, this is a pass for me. But if I had to bet, I would pick Blackshear to outmuscle him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, same here. Blackshear has shown at least the fight IQ to use his wrestling in fights. So, you know, he'll employ it at some point in the fight. And his striking is not half bad. It's actually not bad at all. So he's a decently well-rounded fighter. Last fight, his gas tank looked really good. In a few fights before, his gas tank looked questionable, but it looks like he's a young guy fixing his mistakes. Minus 200, it's wide for such a fight, like just being announced like now. Like, I don't know exactly what you said. What kind of cardio are these guys have? Are they going to just fall off a cliff? Have they been training? All these questions. But I actually think Blackshear is going to use some wrestling. So the over 1.5 is minus 165. That's not half bad if you think there's going to be some grappling involved in this, right? Because then you're going to be hold time on the ground. Is Jose Jackson going to get submitted? I don't think Blackshear is that good, but is Jose Johnson that bad on the ground? I haven't looked at it quite into that sort of depth. But if I think there's going to be some grappling, over 1.5 minus 165 is almost better than picking a side.
100. I think 100% it goes over 1.5. Blackshear's never been knocked out, so I don't think he's going to get chinned super fast, and I think he's going to hold him down. So I definitely like that play. But that fight hasn't really made any of my tickets, I don't think. Moving on, we got Montserrat Ruiz versus Jacqueline Amorim. Basically a grappler versus grappler. All the finishing abilities on Jacqueline's side, but her cardio scares the hell out of me. This is another fight I don't really want to play. Amorim should be the better fighter everywhere as long as her cardio holds up. She's definitely a finisher. So, I mean, if you're on the Jacqueline side, all of her wins are by finish. Maybe you pick her by finish for that value. for me, this fight is a pass. It's not making my tickets. What about you?
Jacqueline's the more well-rounded fighter, but Ruiz, if anything, she's shown some toughness. I mean, that KO against Amanda Lemos, she got knocked out, but it's Amanda Lemos. She hits harder than most girls in this division anyway, right? Amorim, I mean, she looked like she had some striking on the regional scene. Didn't show too much in her first fight, and yeah, the cardio fell off a cliff. It's a red flag, but I feel like UFC debut and all that stuff had to deal with that. Was part of the whole that the way that dynamic of the fight. And Sam Hughes, she's tough as nails, right? She's not the greatest, but she's tough, right? So, and I was looking at some stuff. She did pull her gloves and stuff. There's a little bit of things going around that Sam Hughes pulled Jacqueline's gloves, so she couldn't get that choke on her. So, I mean, whatever. Point is, she's a more well-rounded fighter. Minus 250, it's a little high, but I do like, again, the minus one over 1.5 is minus 120. So Ruiz, Mexican, toughness. I feel like over 1.5 seems like a good, minus 120 seems like a gift, right? For a Mexican fighter. So again, I rather pick the round prop than pick a fighter. Over 1.5.
Yeah, sounds good to me. All right, moving on. We got heavyweight slobber knocker. We got Josh Parisian versus Martin Buday. That was sarcasm. This fight's going to be a god awful. Honestly, I think Buday is sitting at a minus 200, but I think if you pick him over 1.5, it actually brings you to plus 100 or like dead even or something along those lines. That's what I like. I like Buday to probably win decision or win late, but I think this is a very sloppy, boring, uneventful fight. And give me Buday over 1.5 is my pick. What do you think?
I think Buday wins, but I think he wins more times than he loses. Like it's like 70-30, but I still don't think minus 220 is fair, even though it's in that sort of percentage wise. I mean, he's like a Josh Parisian 3.0. That's what he is. He's just like a little bit better at Josh in a lot of areas, right? And chin is one of them as well. But to your point, over 1.5 is minus 260. That's pretty safe, if you ask me. Buday fights are slow and plodding, and these guys don't pack a lot of power. Over 2.5 is minus 145. So put in perspective, those two like lighter weight fights that we just talked about, the over 1.5 is where this over 2.5 is. So it kind of like, makes you think. So I like the over 1.5 again. I like round props on this instead of picking a guy. Minus 260 is just the same as if you're going to play Buday straight the fuck up. So yeah.
Sounds good. Moving on. This is the hardest fight for me to predict. We got Francis Marshall versus Isaac Dulgarian. Dulgarian undefeated, but fought absolutely nobody. Honestly, until somebody passes the eye test for me, like I've been burned too many times falling for hype, and I know Francis Marshall is tough. So if anything, I kind of like the overs, but I don't like picking a winner here. There's nothing that I love. I want to see Dulgarian firsthand first, and then I can bet on him in the future. But right now, I don't want to pick a winner here. I just know that he ain't going to run over Francis Marshall in the first round like he's been doing everybody else. So this might be another over 1.5, like you were saying. I don't even know what the odds are on that. But
minus
the fight the pad
170 on that.
So that might not be a bad move. I'm not taking a side here. What do you like any bets here?
A lot of money coming in on Dulgarian. I can see why. If you look at his highlight tape of his 5 fights, they are pretty good. Like he uses wrestling, gets on top, boom, 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 pushes the guy out. But like you said, Francis Marshall ain't gonna just stand there, let him do this stuff. I don't know. And what happens to Dulgarian if this goes prolonged past the 1 round? We don't know either. Lots of unknowns. So pass, but the only spot I would see is maybe Dulgarian beats the shit out of Francis in the first round. And if you kind of see him tire, I don't see a bad live spot for Francis Marshall in the second round before the second round starts. If you're getting plus money on him, we don't know what this guy's gas tank is. Might be sharp bet there. So.
All right. Moving on, we got a Terrence McKinney versus Mike Breeden in the lightweight division. I think you could say the same thing for every single Terrence McKinney fight. Conservatively, if you want a sure thing, this fight is not going the distance. There's going to be a finish. He's either going to get chinned or he's going to come out and finish Breeden very quickly. I've made a lot of money in the past fading McKinney. I always bet against him. I don't trust the guy whatsoever. I still don't trust him here, but I think this fight is a setup for him to win. The UFC likes him. I think they're throwing him a bone here. I mean, if he can't beat Mike Breeden, I don't know who he can beat. So I'm going to pick Terrence McKinney by finish. I think like under 1.5, to be honest, but McKinney to finish would be my bet. What do you think?
Fuck. McKinney is minus 275. McKinney finishes minus 200. Odds are juiced. Nasty. Fight not to go decision minus 700. Nasty. Under 1.5 minus 300. Nasty. There's like no spots on this. To be honest, I think McKinney wins this fight, but I'm not sure McKinney wins this fight. By no means. Let's be honest here. He likes to fade in the second round. So, another live spot. If you see this fight getting to the second round, we've all watched Terrence McKinney of old. He always fades. I know Mike Breeden's not good. Mike Breeden's not the greatest, but he's durable as shit, right? So he can get to the third round. I don't know if Terrence McKinney could even breathe in the third round. Let's be honest here, folks. So if this gets in the second round, I'm definitely gonna live bet. If I'm watching it, if I'm not doing something, or I'm not too sure what's gonna happen on Saturday, but like if I'm watching that, yeah, I'm gonna live bet Mike Breeden right after round one if it gets that far.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Moving on, our last prelim of the night, we got Marcus McGhee versus JP Buys. McGhee is not as good as the line suggests, but that being said, he is a consistent finisher. JP Buys is not some great fighter himself, so I gotta say you gotta like Marcus McGhee here by knockout or by finish, because I think he's sitting at like minus 350 or somewhere along those lines. There's no way I'm betting minus 350. Even to finish, I think it's minus 200, which ain't great. But if he wins, it's going to be by finish. So it's either Pat or I don't know. No, give me Marcus McGhee to finish the fight. What do you think?
I like McGhee here just because I think JP Buys is really chinny, and McGhee does have the power to put him down. But I also think Buys has a path to victory here with the wrestling as well. McGee's only loss was a submission loss, I believe. His last loss was submission loss. And yeah, he got taken out pretty easily in that fight. And if JP Buys does have one thing, it's wrestling. It's pretty much all he has. He doesn't have his wife anymore. Had to add that one in. Poor JP, poor JP. Good old Roman. Anyway, but I still don't see the fight going the distance. Minus 450 is that still juice to the tits. Minus 320 on the under 2.5, a little bit better. And under 1.5 is a little bit risky in this situation. So to be honest with you, either you take Marcus or you pass the fight. It's favorite or pass. I don't trust JP. All these guys are gonna say he's gonna wrestle fuck McGhee, but how do you know that? Like, I pass.
Yeah, JP's not very good to count on him doing it for 3 rounds. I don't know.
And he gasses too, right? So like he's a guy that I just can't count. But McGhee, like I know he's good. There's gonna be a little bit of drop off from that Journey Newsom fight to this fight, right? Like you can't just buy into this guy's hype. He's gonna like it's not otherwise we'd have heard of him already. Right? You can't be I don't think he's that good. So
Yeah,
I mean there's some recency bias in there, buddy. So yeah, do what you want with the fight. I probably might just put it on it like one of those tickets where I do all the fights on the card for $5 or something. That's about it.
For sure. All right, moving on to the main card. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. First fight of the main card, we got Josh Fremd versus Jamie Pickett in the middleweight division. Josh Fremd is coming off the win over Dumas, I believe, unless there's another one after that. But Fremd is a relentless wrestler, and Jamie Pickett's weakness is wrestling. He gets grapple held down all the time. Obviously, Pickett always has a chance at a knockout, but I don't see him scoring the knockout here. Give me Fremd in probably a pretty boring fight. Like, I don't think it's going to be very fun to watch, but I think he either gets the takedowns and holds him down, or at least he's in tight along the fence. He's just going to shoot. Give me Fremd over 1.5. I like Fremd by decision. I like Fremd over 2.5, but Fremd over 1.5 would be my best bet because minus 375 where he's sitting, I ain't touching that. What do you think?
Same. I like him to win the fight. Fremd minus 350 is what's showing here in this book. I don't like those odds. I might add the one over 1.5. What's that anyway by itself? It's minus 160 by itself. So that by itself might be just as good as like sometimes I do that because you don't want to pick a side but like I feel strongly that Fremd should win this fight. He's usually the more busier guy. He's usually the guy that's coming forward. Pickett, gun shy. Like you watch him on the regionals, you watch him, you know that he can crack, you know that he can fight, but so gun shy in the UFC. Like he doesn't finish anything. So yeah, give me Fremd. Give me Fremd over 1.5. Give me the over 1.5 by itself. It's a theme of the card.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. We got Tafon Nchukwi versus AJ Dobson. Very close odds, very tough fight to predict. Tafon, technically or on paper, I think everybody thinks he's the bigger puncher, but honestly, it wouldn't shock me to see Dobson crack him. Like, I think Dobson's the quicker athlete. So I like Dobson in the. I mean, for me, it's just such a tough fight to predict, anyways. But if I had to make a stab, I'd be stabbing Dobson as the dog. But I wouldn't be going big or super confident on this fight regardless. But I'll take AJ Dobson money line, and that's good enough for me. He's already plus money. What do you think?
I like him. I actually do. This is one of the dogs I do like. I think he's just like you said, athletically better. Tafano he's gun shy, so low volume, so hard to trust. You know what I mean? Even fights he's winning, he finds ways to lose. Like that's this guy, right? Just he rocked Rock City against Alberg in his last fight. Mirzakhanov, everyone's like, oh well, he was winning that fight. He wasn't. Mirzakhanov wasn't throwing anything either. That was the problem, right? Some guy that's gonna not throw anything. I feel like AJ Dobson's is gonna throw some stuff. Right? I mean, putting him out like they're like, oh, he got taken down by Malkoun, but Malkoun's a good wrestler. And then the second fight was another tough guy too. I forgot who it was, but Jesus, it befalls me now. I was just looking at it, but I do like him. Plus 125 is not a bad stab by itself. I won't even fuck with the round props or anything like that. I would just leave it out. Plus, yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on. We got another women's fight. We got Polyana Viana versus Eisman Lucindo. Lucindo 21, Viana 31. Both are kind of grapplers at heart, but Lucindo's not really looking to submit you necessarily. She's looking to take you down and beat you up on the ground, whereas Viana absolutely is looking for the submission. I think Lucindo's quicker. I think striking will be fairly close and competitive, but I think Lucindo's fine. She's not going to get knocked out. I think Lucindo has the wrestling edge. I think she's going to be the one on top. So unless she's getting submitted, like unless Viana's submitting her from the bottom, which I don't think she'll be able to, I think this is Lucindo's fight to lose. I get it. I get why the odds are close. Like I said, 21-year-old. Even though she has quite a bit of fights, 14-5, she's still young. She is a little bit reckless, but I do like Lucindo here. I think the money line's fine the way it is, minus 180 or something like that. That's fine. It seems pretty fair. And I'd say probably over 1.5 again, to be honest. But Lucindo's going to make a couple of my tickets. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel strongly about Lucindo. Like this is all based off of Pollyanna's fight IQ there, right? She allows herself to stay on the bottom. She throws up those submissions. Oh yeah, she has an active guard. Active guard is not winning you a fight, especially Lucinda is not going to give up, go for submission over position, and then you get to snatch up. Striking probably pretty close. Viana looked pretty good actually the last fight, but I do feel like this fight resembles Polyana Viana versus Tabitha Ricci. Same sort of thing, right? Where Ricci would take her down, stay safe in the guard because she's not going to get submitted because it's armbar. This is like Stoliarenko versus Molly McCann, but on a better level, because this is armbar from guard versus Lucindo. So I like her money line. I think it's a decision, but if you want to play safe, money line plus over 1.5 should be pretty damn safe in this spot.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Moving on, we got the featured fight. We got Khalil Rountree versus Chris Daukus, middleweight division. I'm sorry, light heavyweight division. Daukus is dropping in weight. We've still never seen him at that weight. I do believe Daukus has a chance. Don't get me wrong. Seems like the whole world's counting him out. I'm never going to be fully confident on Rountree. I never will be. I think Daukus does have okay boxing. He is a black belt, but I don't think the fight's going to the ground anyways. But he does have the BJJ black belt. But like, it wouldn't shock me if Daukus knocked him out with his hands. But that being said, Rountree should be faster. He's still just as strong, which is Daukus's kryptonite's been the power shots. So I will go with Rountree. I think by knockout. Daukus hasn't fought to a decision in the UFC yet. I don't think it's going to happen here. So I think Rountree probably knocks him out. Rountree will be on a few of my tickets. I hope I don't regret it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like Rountree in this spot, but I don't like Rountree in this spot. So, I mean, he's so variable, that guy, and you just don't know what you're getting from Daukus. I don't feel like everyone feels like he's coming down. He's losing all the attributes that made him win fights in heavyweight. Speed was one of them. He's not going to be the faster fighter here. I don't think he's actually going to be the bigger fighter here, to be honest with you. So I am reluctantly picking Khalil Rountree. He will make maybe a couple of my tickets, but yeah, reluctantly picking Khalil Rountree.
I think that's all that has to be said about here. I mean, he's not a super confident pick, but at least he seems to be on a hot streak. Daukus seems to be on a cold streak. I mean, everything just kind of points in this direction. And I mean, I think Jacoby's a better striker than Daukus, and Rountree just had his. I mean, it was close. I thought he lost, but he was close. So
only difference is Jacoby throws more volume, and then Daukus will throw more power. Yeah, but I haven't really seen Khalil's chin like give way or give him problems. It's more his cardio and him just being like a panting dog in there sometimes, you know what I mean? So I mean, I was rewatched that Jacoby fight. He was still tired, but to his defense, he wasn't that dog tired that he was in his previous fights. He was tired but still throwing. So it's a little of an improvement over his past fights. So yeah.
All right, moving on. We got the co-main event. We got the legend Cub Swanson versus Mean Hakeem Dawodu. Nothing's really changed for me on this fight. I know obviously heartstrings get pulled when you see these old fighters that you grew up watching, but the fact is they don't win very often. Usually they go out in a way you don't like to see them go out. So, you know what? Hakeem's been very underwhelming. Haven't really enjoyed any of his fights, but here's his chance. He's a co-main event. He's never going to get this spotlight again. He has to make an impression now or never. So I do like Hakeem to get it done. And I just personally feel like when Swanson loses, it's by finish. He's not the most durable guy. So it might sound crazy, but I'm going to have Hakeem by himself on a couple parlays, and I'm gonna actually have him to finish on a couple YOLOs out there as well for better value. Maybe it's crazy, maybe it bites me in the ass, but I'm gonna go with Hakeem here. What do you think?
I know I picked Cub before. I don't know though. Let's be honest. Hakeem's underwhelming. I'm not gonna parlay him. I don't have that much. I'm just gonna leave that fight off. And if I'm playing this thing, I'm gonna just play Cub live. Actually, I feel like it's another live spot. So I was looking at some Cub fights. How is he getting finished? It's to the body, right? It's not to the head. It's to the body. So gotta watch this Hakeem striking in round one. If he's attacking the body, he's gonna eventually finish him for sure. Cub looks weak to the body. Yeah, his last couple fights I was looking at him. Cub's not the same. You can tell that the durability is going. And yeah, I love to go. I mean, there's no value on Hakeem in this fight. All the value is on Cub, right? But like, there's the value on Cub. That's the problem. Cub wins. He finishes Hakeem, I think. Or he grinds out a decision. So he's good odds, good value on both sides of those because you're looking at plus 500, plus 400. So pick your poison. I'm gonna pass on this fight. I actually think the overs are good. A lot of people would say that this fight would end, but over 1.5 is -250. But the live spot on Cub is the only thing I would do. So I'm probably not going to pull the trigger on this fight. I don't like anybody.
All right,
That's
fair
just
enough.
me though, man.
Oh no, I don't like either. I don't like either of them at all. To be honest, I don't. I don't think Cub Swanson can take a shot.
I think you're right, but I don't think Hakeem leaves himself open for bullshit to happen, right? He leaves basically it's like you're playing a baseball game and you let that crappy team hang around, and then they get you in the last inning. This is what Hakeem does. He That
I
is
hear.
exactly what he does.
All right, moving on. We got the main event. We got Vicente Luque versus RDA, Rafael dos Anjos. You know what? This is not a super confident pick. The more I think about this fight, the harder and trickier it gets for me. So you know what? The pick 'em odds are enough. I don't need props here. I do have RDA on my parlays that I've placed. I do. So if they make it to the end, I might hedge with a Luque knockout because I don't think Luque is going to win a decision here. I don't think he's not a grinding type. He either hits you with a huge shot or he catches you like in a Darce choke or something like that. But I don't think he's going to choke RDA. So I think I feel like if Luque is to win this fight, it's going to be by a big punch or by a big shot. But Luque is coming back after a year suspension for a brain bleed. So that's a little bit alarming. And then you got Dos Anjos, who was just knocked out by Fiziev 2 fights ago. Then he came back and beat Barberina, but that doesn't really mean anything, doesn't really prove anything. So I guess the whole thing that I'm struggling with is, will RDA be able to have his wrestling be successful in this weight class? Because clearly he was a legendary lightweight, one of the best ever, I think, in that weight class, very underrated, underappreciated. But now he's moving up. Is he big enough to deal with Luque? Now, the good thing is Luque is not huge by any means, but he's still the naturally bigger guy. He is a bigger frame. He is the I don't if RDA can take him down quickly, I think RDA is going to cruise here. But if he struggles to get that takedown, things are going to get interesting. So I'm not full confidence by any means. RDA is on my parlays. If they make it to the end, I'll probably hedge. What do you think?
I like RDA. I like the grappling, but he is moving up. It's just I feel like he has to just mimic what Bilal did. But Bilal had better striking. RDA doesn't have that sort of striking like Bilal. Bilal's a little bit more technical. Just lacks the power of when he hits a pillow fisted guy, right? So I like RDA. I like RDA in the overs. I like RDA by decision. He's gonna make my parlays. Luque, there's so many red flags with Luque. I actually think the brain aneurysm is a big one. Is he even cleared to fight here? Like, who knows, right? Like
He just got cleared.
oh, it's so I just all I know is in real life as a man, like if I had a brain aneurysm, I'd probably give up fighting. Just say he must love fighting. Like it's crazy, bud. So I don't know. I feel like too many things, too many red flags on the Luque part. 2 losses, the brain being off, the rust. RDA, if he can get the grappling going, he's gonna win this fight. And pretty easily too. He's gonna look like -3, 400, right? So kind of like when he fought Hanato Moicano. And
Yeah.
because kind of Luque is sort of the same thing, right? I mean, on the ground, he has a tendency to get hit too, right? So he's not the most defensively sound fighter.
100%. The only thing in his side is one shot power. That's it. So if you're banking on I mean, that's why I feel like if you're on the Luque side, I don't see how he can possibly win a decision.
He's
Right.
not a minute winner. He's a moment winner.
Exactly. Okay, guys. As always, these fight night cards, lower level fighters, lower like defensive. They're not as smart, lower IQ. Don't go crazy. These are the cards where they're harder to predict because they're not as disciplined. So don't go crazy. Save your money for the pay-per-views. We got a good card coming up next weekend. We'll be dropping that soon. As always, coming up in a minute, we'll show you our chart with a recap of all of our picks. I'll screenshot a couple small parlays I already posted. I'm sure I'm going to play more before the event starts or whatever, but I'll just throw them out for you to look at anyways. Again, like, subscribe. If you have a strong ticket that you like, maybe something that we missed or whatever, drop us a comment. We love hearing what your bets are. We'll get back to you and we'll talk it out. And let's hopefully smash some bets on Saturday night. And we'll see you Monday latest, probably Sunday, for the UFC 292 video. All right, guys, have a good one.